Hello, this is Carson from Britannia. I'm the principal consultant here. So today we are very happy to have Hilarie to come back to Hong Kong and then join us for this sharing session. Thanks very much for being here today.
No problem.
Right, okay. Could you briefly tell our audience a little bit on yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Hilarie. I'm 18 this year. I've just graduated from Queen School in UK, and I'll be going to Boston to study in Berklee College of Music this fall. I started Queen in year 10, so 2019.
So where did you study in Hong Kong?
I studied in Chinese International School.
Wow, that's a really reputable one. Was it very, very stressful studying there, I heard?
I would say yes.
Okay.
If you were to ask me now compared to the UK, I think Hong Kong schools are quite competitive, and like UK schools is not as competitive, so I feel like it's a better environment for me personally.
What makes you want to choose Queen Anne's compared with other schools?
So then I think mainly it was the newly opened music department, and it was also the music department director, Mr. Padley himself. I met him the first time in 2019 as like an audition for Queen Anne School.
Right.
Yeah, he was really nice, his words were really encouraging, and then after my mom and I went to visit the campus, and then the music department was so well facilitated. There was like recital halls, practice rooms, a room full of like Mac suites, like Mac computers, and there was also a recording studio. And yeah, I was quite drawn by how it was so well facilitated, and I ended up just choosing Queen Anne's.
Right, okay. You mentioned about the audition, so how was it conducted in Hong Kong? Was it held in a studio or somewhere else?
I remember back then was pretty chill. It was like at a music center, and it was like in one of those music exam rooms, which you would do like for your ABRSM or like your diplomas. And then it was really small as well, so but it was like really close between me and him.
What was expected in an audition? Do you have to perform? Did you have to do any sight read? Anything else?
I think from what I remember, all I did was I played a piece on the violin, and then we just started having like normal conversation. That was pretty much it, yeah.
I heard scholarship, you have to achieve a certain level of the music, diploma, maybe ABRSM. Have you got any sort of the results in ABRSM?
I actually have an LTCL diploma.
LT, that would be
in violin.
Professional already.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I also have a grade A in piano.
So what was the outcome? I heard you got a very generous scholarship back in that time.
Yeah, I think I played for Mr. Padley and he was quite impressed.
So what's mostly would the school give you for the scholarship? Would that be any free lessons in the music instrument or something else?
Yes, I think the scholarship came with a free double lesson every week.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I was also lucky enough to also get piano lessons, which were free, offered to me back then.
Right.
Yes, and I did 2 instruments at the same time every week, twice every week.
But that must be, there will be some commitment, I heard, for being a scholar. Could you cite for some example?
So as a music scholar, for example, if you do like violin, cello, those type of instruments, they require you to participate in like orchestras. And then most of the times if they have like concerts, so like end of year concerts, music scholars concerts, or even concerts and like services going outside of school, they kind of expect you to do those. Yeah.
Right, okay. Is there other commitment, like you have to tutor the young year group, you have to be the mentor or teach them for music?
In the first 2 years when I joined, no. But then after, as I got into 6th form, I applied to be a music prefect.
Okay.
And then with that, I had to help around with like the music department if there were like any issues going on, or like for example in orchestras, if there was the younger ones needed help, I was always there.
I heard mostly in Hong Kong there are maybe 30 or 40 students in every class, but how about in Queen Anne's?
So for Hong Kong, I think it's mainly local schools that have that many students in one class. Back in CIS, I think there was around like 15 to 20 students in the class.
Right.
And then for here in Queen Anne's, the class sizes are much smaller. I think mainly because we're divided into different sets. So different sets as in like your level of learning.
Okay.
So then by that, probably around like 10 to 12 students in one class. Yeah, it's rather small. Yeah.
Do you get to have more interactions in school compared with Hong Kong schools? But back then you were in an international school. Maybe you find less difference, right?
It's similar in a way, but I would say the teaching lifestyle is really different.
Like how?
I think in Hong Kong, like teachers mainly, they just focus on teaching you everything.
Yep.
And then whatever you do and what you haven't learned or what you don't understand is kind of like your responsibility to catch up.
Okay.
Whereas for the UK, the teacher really cares about like the student's learning process. So then like they basically kind of go through and see if everyone in the class understands first and then move on.
Right, okay. Could you cite some example that you were in need of some support in Queen Anne's and then you actually got some support maybe in a certain subjects or even in music?
I think for me personally, it's maths. I struggled with maths, which is also why I only took an AS, not an A-level.
I see.
But the teachers in the UK, they're really willing to take their free time and use it, even if it's a one-on-one session.
Right.
So then, for example, they'll take their whole lunchtime and just sit there and teach you a whole topic if you don't understand it.
So there are some schools, they are excelling maybe science subjects. So what was the best subjects in Queen Anne's, do you reckon?
I personally really enjoyed psychology.
Okay.
And I think psychology was a subject which I kind of did rather well on my own. I think it's because the teachers in psychology, although they go through like content quite quickly, they drill you a lot. So then maybe like once every week they have like essay tests in class, like timed essays, because we write 60 markers in our exams and you could have 3 60 markers that you have to write in the actual paper. So then they drill us a lot and then they give us a lot of exercises. They go through topics by topic. And they're pretty overall well prepared for to have their students go and take the exams. So I think psychology for me was one of the favorite subjects.
That's great. So how often do you go to Reading, the town? I reckon the school is quite near to Reading.
Yes, I think it's around a 20-minute walk. It's actually a pretty nice walk because you walk through like a big field and then you walk through the river and then the view's really pretty as well. I don't really go that often because it's just one big long road with like shopping centers, little shoe shops. You could kind of go through everything in one day. But it's a place that you could go to if you need like necessities and things like that, or if you're really bored of just going to the supermarket down the road. There's a cinema there, yeah. Most of the times when we go down, we also, we go and watch movies. But then there's like the normal clothing stores like Primark, Zara. That probably a lot of us really like going to. Yeah, and also at the same time, Reading's rather close to London. When you walk to the centre, it's right where the station is. So then if you were to take the train, it could only take you 20 minutes to travel all the way to Reading, to London.
Let's talk about the boarding side. So how many boarding houses are there in Queen Anne's?
If I remember correctly, there's 4 boarding houses. Now they've kind of changed it up after COVID.
Right.
So then now the 3 houses that are in the main campus, it's for lower 5s till upper 6s. So it's a mix of all of those grades. And then for the boarding house up in the field, it's only for lower 4s to upper 4s.
So you're suggesting students in different year group, they would be allocated in the same boarding house. It's a vertical system.
Yeah.
How do you think about it? Is that a good thing?
Yeah, it is a good thing. Putting older girls and younger girls together in a year, it's like you're friends with basically everyone from like different age groups. And like the younger ones, they can go and ask the older ones for help. And then the older ones kind of sometimes don't feel as if they have that much responsibility because you can fool around with the younger ones as well. When we're in 6th form, we have a little bit more responsibility in terms of back then, the lower years, they weren't allowed to keep their devices at night. So then the upper groups, we had to sign and check everyone put their like electronics downstairs before they get to bed.
So when you were in a year 10, was your reaction to it? You have to let the school keep your phone, I heard.
I did not like it at all. Yeah, I was not used to it because back in Hong Kong, I had all of my devices with me.
Of course.
At nighttime. But then I think the good thing is with them taking our devices, we kind of had enough sleep. Yeah, and for me personally, I actually grew much taller when I went to the UK. Maybe it's because of sleep.
But some people suggest the UK schools, including Queen Anne's, your life is busier, so you have less time to use your devices or, for the other laptop. Do you agree with it?
In younger years, they kind of require you to take after-school activities. Like they have you pick a few. So then you kind of get occupied a bit more. Right. So then after school is probably a certain period of time where they sit you down and you have to do homework. And then it's only after dinner where you get a little bit of free time.
That's during the prep time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then up till 9 o'clock, and then we start handing in our devices back then.
What do you think about a day student? Do you spot any difference? I mean, interacting with those local students compared with their overseas kids?
Not really. I think besides the language.
Yep.
Because most of the boarding students, a lot of them are from mainland,
okay.
Or they could be from Hong Kong. So then I'd still be speaking Mandarin or Cantonese. Whereas when I'm with the day girls, I speak with them in English. Okay. And then sometimes I hear myself starting to get a British accent.
So let's talk about the university application support in Queen Anne's. I mean, like most of the students, you chose music path. Could you cite some example in terms of the support from the school side that can help you with the music path?
I basically also applied to UK universities. So then I did basically the same thing as everyone else. But then I did additionally for the US. For the US though, there's a little bit more stuff that you have to do. I think it's because the US kind of look at you more rounded. They kind of look at your extracurricular stuff, your achievements and things like that, which you may not have put in your UCAS personal statement. I had 3 teachers help me write recommendation letters.
Okay.
And obviously that takes up a little bit more of their time, but they were all really willing to help with that. I also just kind of wanted to thank Mr. Stevenson, which is our sixth form director.
Right.
He's basically the one who coordinates all of our university applications. He helped me a lot in terms of sending emails back and forth with Berklee's admission offices.
Right.
And then he even responds to my emails during his free time or summer breaks.
I mean, there would be some audience they may find very curious. What would be the qualities for you to get into Berklee? I mean, not just you have to get a good result, not just for a good personal statement. Could you cite some example on it?
I would say Berklee is mainly audition based. Although you write like a little personal statement and then you have your grades and recommendation letters. It's mainly audition focused. So then what they had me do in audition was play my piece, and then there was sight readings I had to do.
Right.
And then there was also this improvisation section,
right.
which was basically they would send me an audio track and then I just kind of had to play randomly to the audio track. For me, the audition process, I didn't actually think I would get into Berklee, just because I had technical difficulties in my audition process. In the improvisation section, the Wi-Fi wasn't very good, so then I couldn't hear them, they couldn't hear me. And I walked out of it thinking I don't think I get an offer. But then, I was really surprised to actually get an offer and also a scholarship.
So you have now completed studies in Queen Anne's. If we do a reflection here, what is the change for you?
I feel like I've gotten a lot more independent. Back in Hong Kong, I always have my mom there helping me with everything, with whatever. Whereas when I'm there, with the things I like and with the things I don't like, I get to pick. I think one of the hobbies that I've gotten from being in the UK is cooking. I think at the start, going to Queen Anne's, you'd think the food's really nice, but because the menu weekly is quite repetitive. So then as you have it more and more, you kind of get sick of it and you miss home food a lot. So then I started cooking a lot of more like Chinese dishes with the other boarding girls, where because we don't get to go home for Chinese New Year or like important dates like those. So then there's like 10 of us, 12 of us that we all come together during like Chinese New Year, and then all of us, one of each, we'd make one thing specifically, and then we'd sit in the kitchen like all around the table, and then we just kind of have like a feast.
So looking back, do you regret studying in the UK? Were you grateful to anyone, like in a family?
I actually am really grateful that I got to go to study in the UK, and I do not regret it one bit. I personally just think that going to the UK and being able to make my own decisions has really helped a lot. In terms of back then when I was in Hong Kong, I wasn't exactly the study type. Whereas as I got to the UK, being able to make my own decisions, being able to see my goals and want to work towards my goals, I've been more motivated in terms of studying, managing my time. And yeah, overall, I just think I've grown as a person by going to the UK, which I don't think I would have done so if I was still in Hong Kong.
I think your parents would be very proud of you.
Hopefully, yeah.